Hello, guys. Welcome back to another chapter of the fourth grade nothing. We are coming to the end here. A couple chapters. This is chapter 8. This is called The TV Star. TV Star. Go ahead and make a prediction about what you think this is going to be about. TV Star. Make that prediction now. All good? All right, here we go. Aunt Linda is my mother's sister. She lives in Boston. Last week, she had a baby girl, so now I have a new cousin. My mother decided to fly to Boston to see Aunt Linda and the new baby. I'll be gone for the weekend, my mother told me. I was sitting on her bed watching her pack. I know. Daddy will take care of you and Fudge. I know. Are you sure you'll be all right? She asked me. Sure, why not? Will you help Daddy with Fudge? Sure, Mom, don't worry. I'm not worrying. It's just that Daddy is so, We'll be fine, Mom. On Friday morning, all four of us rode down the elevator to say goodbye to my mom. Henry looked at the suitcase. You going away, Mr. Hatcher? My mother answered, No, I am, Henry. My sister just had her baby. New baby, Fudge said. Baby, baby, baby. Nobody paid any attention to him. Outside, my father hailed a taxi. He put the suitcase in first and held the door for my mom. When she was settled in the cab, my father said, Don't worry about us. We'll be just fine. Just fine, Mommy. Just fine, Mommy. Bye, Mom. See you Sunday, I said. My mother blew us kisses, and then her cab drove away. Bye, Mommy. Bye-bye, Fudge said. I had no school that day. The teachers were at a special meeting. So my father said he'd take me and Fudge to the office with him. My father's office is in a huge building made of almost all glass. It really is a busy place. A person could get lost in there. Once I heard my mother say, Janet must have to get up at the crack of dawn and put on her face. My father just laughed when my mother would say things like that. My father had a private office with his own secretary, and her name was Janet. Janet seen me before. This was the first meeting with Fudge, though. I was glad her hair was finally growing back. I explained right off about his teeth. He'll look a lot better when he's older. See, Fudge said, opening his mouth. All gone. My father said, Janet, the boys are going to be here for the morning. Can you amuse them while I clear up some work? Certainly, Mr. Hatcher, Janet said. You go ahead into your office, and I'll take the boys on a tour. As soon as my father went to his private office, she reached in and grabbed her hairbrush and lipstick and a bag of crackers. You want some? She asked me and Fudge. Okay, I said, taking a handful, and Fudge did the same. We walked down a long hallway through a doorway into another section of the agency. We came to a room. There was a bunch of kids with mothers. I guess there was at least 50 of them. Is this a nursery or what? She laughed. They're here to try out for the new Toddle Bike commercial. You mean they want to be? You mean they all want to be the kid who rides that Toddle Bike on TV? Yes. At least their mothers want them to be picked. But we can only use just one. You mean only one of these kids is going to be picked? That's right. Who picks them? Well, your father and Mr. Denberg are doing it. But of course, Mr. Vincent, the president of the Toddle Bike company. Just then the door opened and the secretary came out. Next! My Murray's next, a mother said. Oh no, he's not. Sally is next. Ladies, please, you'll have your turn, the secretary said. Murray was crying, though. His mother yelled at the big man. What do you know anyway? You wouldn't know a treasure if you found one, after he said that he is not the one. She shook her fist at him. Janet whispered to me, That's Mr. Vincent. He's the president. Mr. Vincent walked to the center of the room. He looked around at all the kids. Then he looked over at us and pointed and called, There he is. That's the kid I want. I thought he meant me, and I got really kind of excited. I could just see myself on TV riding a Toddle Bike. All my friends would turn on their sets and say, Hey, look, there's Peter. While I was thinking that would be fun, Mr. came over to us and grabbed Fudge. He lifted him up. Perfect. Just perfect. Mr. Vince took the mothers who were waiting packed up their kids and left right away. Mr. Vincent took off with Fudge in his arms. Janet chased him. She called, But Mr. Vincent, you don't understand. But we ran after Vincent. Mr. Vincent carried Fudge into the other room. He announced, I found him. The perfect kid for the Toddle Bike commercial. Mr. Vincent put Fudge down, and there were two other men in the room. Hi, Daddy, Fudge said. George, that is my son. He is not an actor. He doesn't have to be an actor. He's perfect the way he is. Now look, George, we want to make sure the best possible commercials for our company. Now listen, Hatcher, Mr. Vincent said. I wonder why he called my father Hatcher, just like Mr. Yarby did. Mr. Vincent pointed to Fudge. Either that kid's ride the Tuttle Bike, or I take my account to another advertising agency. My father looked at Mr. Dinberg. It's your decision. I don't want to be the one who tells you what to do. My father picked up Fudge and held him on his lap. Would you like to ride a Tuttle Bike, Fudge? Why are you asking him? I said. What does he know about commercials? My father acted like he'd forgotten I was even around. I'm thinking, Peter. Please be quiet. Well, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Vincent said, what'll it be? This kid of yours, or do I go to another agency? I remember how my father lost a Juicio account, and he couldn't afford to do that again. All right, George, you can do some. On one condition, though. The commercial has to be made this afternoon. After today, my son Fudge won't be available. That's fine, Mr. Hatcher. Is he going to get paid? I asked. I'll worry about that, Peter. He'd be paid and I'll have lots of money in the bank. I'd have nothing, and someday I'd have to borrow from him. No, wait a minute. Never. I'm never going to borrow money from Fudge. I'll starve first. Can I at least watch when you make the commercial? I asked. Certainly. You can watch the whole thing. Is Fudge going to be famous? I asked. No, not famous. But people will think he looks a little familiar. Let's begin right after lunch, Mr. Dinberg said. We should get it filmed in about 2 hours. Well, when I was safely while my father and Mr. Dinberg worked out the arrangements, I asked Janet where the men's room was. She walked me to it. When I was safely inside, I looked at myself in the mirror. I wish Fudge had never been born. Good things always happen to him. If I had been born, I wish he could be 9 or 10 like me. Then Mr. Vincent would want me to ride the bikes and not him. Janet sent down to the coffee shop for some sandwiches and drink. After we ate, we all walked to another section of the agency where the cameras were all set up. My father, Mr. Vincent, and Janet sat on folding chairs and watched the action. I sat on the floor. Okay, Fudge, we're going to begin now, Mr. Dinberg said. You ride the Tuttle Bike where I tell you, and I'll take a picture of you doing it. No, Fudge said. What do you mean, no? My father groaned. Look, George, using Fudge, this is your idea. Okay, Fudge, this is it. The cameraman said, start riding this way, ready, go. Fudge just sat there. He didn't pedal. Come on, kid, let's go. No, I don't want to go. What's with this kid, Mr. Hatcher? Fudge, do what the nice man tells you. No, I don't want to. How about some cookies, Mr. Hatcher? Janet said. Good idea, Janet. I have some Oreos right here, she said. Should I give it to him? Just one at a time. Janet walked across the room to Fudge. He was still sitting on the Tuttle Bike. If you do what the nice man says, I'll give you a cookie. Show me, Fudge said. Janet held up the box of Oreos. She was really prepared. Gimme, Fudge said. Janet held up one cookie and Fudge reached for it, but Janet didn't let him have it. If you do what the nice man says, you get to have an Oreo. Maybe even 2 or 3. First cookie, Fudge said. First do what the nice man says. No, cookie! Give him one, Janet, Mr. Dinberg called. We haven't got all day to fool around. Janet gave Fudge one Oreo. He ate it. Okay, kid, you ready now? Right over to me. Fudge didn't do it. Hatcher, you get that son of yours to ride that Tuttle Bike or I'm taking my account. Must I remind you, George, this was your idea, not mine. Forget about whose ideas it is. He's your kid. You better get him to do it now. I have an idea. He walked to the corner room, beckoning to others. Mr. Dinberg and Mr. Vincent gathered around him, along with the cameraman. They looked like a bunch of football players. Soon, my father called to me. Peter, would you join us, please? Sure, Dad. What's up? Peter, we want you to ride the Tuttle Bike for us to show Fudge how it's done. But he already knows how to ride, I said. Didn't you just see him zooming around? He won't do it for the cameras, so we need your help. Am I going to be in the commercial? Well, the Tuttle Bike is really for really young kids. I got the message. It was like buying the shoes all over again. They're going to use me to get Fudge to do something else. I walked over to Fudge and told him I was going to ride the Tuttle Bike. Get off, I said. Fudge held onto the bike. No, mine! It's not yours, my father told him. But Fudge wouldn't move. He closed his eyes and he screamed so loud. So my father had to pull him off the Tuttle Bike and Fudge kicked and screamed. I bet Mr. Vincent was sorry he ever spotted my brother. I got on the Tuttle Bike and it was so small my knees practically touched the ground, but I managed to ride it around. See how Peter can ride the toddle bike, Janet said. Here, Peter, you can have an Oreo. you did so well, you can have 2 or 3. Fudge stopped screaming, me! Cookie! What? My father said, me ride! You can't ride as well as Peter can. I mean, come on, Fudge. I can too! I don't think so. You already had your turn. You didn't really know what to do. Me! Want to try again, Fudge? Again, yes, again! Fudge, again! I don't know. Please, Fudge screamed. I've never heard my brother say please in his life. Okay, we'll give you one more chance. And Fudge ran to the toddle bike. I got off and he jumped on. Now, he asked? Now. Right this way, Fudge. Come over here. And Fudge did as he was told. Just like Peter. He said, just like Peter. Janet gave me a kiss on the cheek. You saved the day, Peter. When she wasn't looking, I wiped off my face. Her kiss was a little too juicy for me. And that's the end of that chapter, guys. Kind of seen a pattern in some of these chapters, right? We only got a few chapters left. I think like 2 or 3. So we'll finish it up next time.